Hello, Patriots, and welcome again to the channel, Patriot Point, a place where you can come and get the news from a conservative, constitutional, common sense point of view. And things you don't hear that kind of point of view on the mainstream media, and that's why I hope that you'll tune in each Friday as I release a new video. And thank you, by the way, to the people who tuned in to last week's video. There was a lot of great comments, and I appreciate that. Thank you for that. And if you haven't seen last week's video, go back and watch that. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Now, before we get into the news, I want to talk about one other thing as far as the channel goes, and that's hitting the subscribe button. I always talk about that at the end of the program. If the subscribe button is red, please hit that. If it is gray, it means you've already hit it, and if you hit it again, it's going to unsubscribe you. So if it's red, push the button. If it's gray, don't push the button. And that's enough with that. Now, let's talk about something that is pushing Andy Beshear's buttons. And for him, it's pushing all of the wrong buttons, and things are getting kind of a little scary, a little creepy for Andy Beshear. And that leads us to our first news story. This past week was the Kentucky Derby. Now, I was proud to see that they held one of the long-standing traditions we have here in the Bluegrass State, which is the audience gets together and sings "My Old Kentucky Home." And some of the ultra-leftists, they're like, no, don't sing that because, hey, you'll spread COVID. People just be dying left and right. Well, I'm glad to say Kentuckians stood up, said we're doing away with this nonsense, and we had 50,000 spectators all loudly and proudly sing "My Old Kentucky Home." That's why you see I've got it over on my desk. And so I was very proud of them for that. Number two thing that I don't think the media told you about is about 95% of those 50,000 people didn't wear a mask. Oh my goodness. I'm sure that Andy Beshear, who he was there for the event, is traditional that the governor of the state will be there for it. And I bet he thought this is a bunch of psychos that is going to kill people. Yes, not only was there about 95% of that 50,000 group of people who didn't wear a mask. At the end of the race, then we have the jockey and the horse, the owner, the people who won the race. They get together in the little winner's circle there, and then the Governor Beshear is going to present them with the trophy, as is tradition. But then the second thing that's kind of scary and creepy for Andy Beshear is when he gets up to do this, 50,000 people start booing him. Don't take my word for it. Let's watch the video.
What a day of racing. What a day for Medina Spirit. I'm here on the pagoda with the CEO of Churchill Downs, Bill Carstangen. Also, the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, who's been coming to the Kentucky Derby for 34 years, but for the first time, handing out the trophy. Andy?
What a difference a year makes. The people of Kentucky have spent this last year sacrificing for each other, living for each other. So today, it is my honor to be able to hand out this trophy in honor of the people of Kentucky. So, I get to congratulate the winner of the 147th Kentucky Derby, Medina Spirit. Its trainer, Bob Baffert, its jockey, Johnny V, and its owner, Amr Zidane.
That's a big thing. You can see at the end there, he almost drops the trophy. Can you imagine 50,000 people booing you? I think that is a big tell on how Kentuckians are fed up to death with how this guy has destroyed Kentucky's economy, Kentucky's rights. He's just flaunted his power against the legislative branch, and the people are tired of it. I think it's going to be one term, Andy. So let's talk about something else that's going on that the mainstream media is not covering, but they should. And it is how there was a protest at the Capitol. There's been protests, they don't tell you about this, every single week for the last several weeks against Governor Beshear. Well, they were holding one over on May the 2nd. And they had some people showing up saying, listen, we want our liberties back. We want to be able to open our businesses, to stay open as long as we want, to have as many people in our own home as we want in our business. Well, a few people showed up and I mean a few, like about 6 is what the video looks like, saying that we support the governor. And I want you to notice what some of these Beshear supporters do. They, first of all, smack one of the Liberty people in the face with a sign for Beshear, and then they pull a knife on the Liberty crowd. And again, don't take my word for it. Let's watch the video for yourself.
Good. Okay, so. Hey, don't assault me. Oh my God, now you're being violent.
Get out.
You're a violent one, aren't you?
The person who pulled the knife there is a person by the name of Karen Ellis. And she works in part of Andy's administration there, works for the Department of Health and Family Services. Now, I want you to think about this. What would have happened if one of the Liberty protesters had shown up at the Capitol, had hit, even, I mean, obviously it wasn't hard, but still had whacked one of the Beshear supporters in the face with one of their signs? What would have happened because of that? What if one of the Liberty people had pulled a knife out and had used that to threaten some of the Beshear people? I'll guarantee you exactly what would have happened. Andy Beshear would have got on TV, probably tears in his eyes, screaming about all of these radicals, and I bet there'd be somebody in jail tonight with charges for assault and brandishing a weapon on the Capitol grounds. They'd be in jail right now awaiting charges if it was a Liberty person. But it's not. It's one of these liberal Beshear supporters, and it's been completely ignored. That is wrong. Charges should be pressed, and this person shouldn't be working in Kentucky as a public official at all. If it had been a Liberty person who had done this, this would have been Andy Beshear's response, and we all know it. Yes, he would have been screaming, "Murder, murder," and would have had a big problem with that. But there's something else going on, or is about to go on, that the media is not telling you about. And this is something very scary and creepy for Andy Beshear. And that is about a trial is going to happen in the courts on May the 17th. And the media sure is being quiet about this, and Andy's sure being quiet about it. Do you realize that every single mandate that Andy Beshear has imposed upon people, imposed upon churches, imposed upon businesses, imposed upon child care centers, and all these others, that's going up before a court case on May the 17th. And if that case goes against him, and it looks like it is going to go against him, we are going to get a pro-liberty ruling. Praise the Lord. That means immediately there will be the end of the mask mandate. There will be no more limits on how many people can actually be in your place of business. There'll be no more limits on what hours that your business is allowed to be open or not be open. We will be back to business as what should be normal. So this is coming up on May the 17th. I expect there to be a wonderful pro-liberty ruling on this. I imagine Andy Beshear is kind of scared of this. And if this ruling comes, he'll probably try to take drastic action, and he'll try to get just another court to bypass the system. And here we see what the liberals constantly do. When the conservatives passed a law in the state legislature to say, listen, these mandates are wrong. We're lifting all of these. These are voided out. Andy Beshear did not respect the legislative process of how you make laws. He just went over and found one judge in one little county that says, no, the governor has all power. He can do whatever he wants. But when you have other judges that rule, say, you know what, we're going to rule in a way to countermand that, this is canceled out, then he's like, oh no, we can't go with just judges, we got to push it on. So we see he doesn't respect the rule of law, doesn't respect the court system. All he wants is to keep all of his power. So we'll be keeping you up to date on that. Put this on your prayer list. There's going to be a court case going on in the Boone Circuit Court, and we'll look forward to giving you a wonderful report about that after May the 17th. So that's something that Andy Beshear may be afraid of, is that court case coming up. And I tell you, something else he'll be afraid of is if somebody is going to be running against him in 2023. We did a program about that a few weeks ago. I think we'll have a lot of candidates that'll be very anxious to take down Andy Beshear based on what just happened at the Kentucky Derby. I think he realizes his position is very tenuous at best. And I've talked about running for races. I think we mean more conservative, constitutionally liberty-minded people that are going to be in office at all levels, whether it be governor, the state legislature, your county government, your city government. We need to have people in there who are liberty-minded. Do you realize that one judge who said, I declare that I'm going to override the entire state legislature, even though I've only been elected in one county? That judge who issued that ruling, he didn't even have an opponent this last election cycle. He didn't have an opponent the last election cycle. 2 different elections in a row, he didn't even have to raise 1 red cent because nobody ran against him. I like the words of Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson said, when the people fear the government, there is tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there is liberty. And that has been proven true during this last year and a half. What have we seen? The people have been fearing the government. The governor's declared all these mandates. He sent out the health department like the Gestapo, the Department of Health and Family Services. People have been afraid to run their own businesses. Businesses have been lost. College tuitions have had to be spent to keep themselves going. Lives have been wrecked. School years have been destroyed. We got a bunch of kids having to repeat another year when they normally wouldn't have to. They've all been robbed of these things because the people have had to fear the government. But when the government fears the people, there is liberty. If you get somebody in office and they wind up having an opponent run against them, all of a sudden that same politician is going to be paying real close attention to what the people want. If you have somebody in office who is a good person, who is constitutionally minded, that is a good conservative, who listens to the people, then by all means, that's the kind of person you want to keep in office. But if you got somebody that is in your area that you voted for and they've not been listening to the people, they're not constitutionally minded, they're not a good common sense conservative, by all means, run them out of office. Find somebody to run for that seat. If you would like to get more information, like, well, what do I have to do to run for office? I want to be dog catcher, and our dog catcher only seems to round up conservative dogs, and he lets all the liberal dogs in the city go around crazy. Whatever office that it is, why don't you write me here on the program? I will put you in touch with the people that'll tell you, listen, these are the forms to fill out, and this is when you have to do it, and we'll train you on how to run an effective campaign. Because we need more conservative dog catchers. We need more conservatives at every branch of government. If you'd like to get a hold of me, it is again lee.watts.kentucky@gmail.com. So you think about running for office. If there's somebody who needs to be replaced, and if there's somebody in there who's good, you make sure to go out and support them. And before we sign off this week, I just want to say I have really enjoyed going out and speaking to a lot of different groups. I had a lot of opportunities to do that in this past year. Just this past week, I spoke at groups in Jefferson County, Anderson County, Bracken County, Boone County, Franklin County, and Scott County. And if you'd like me to come out and to speak at your church group, your patriot group, your political group, I am happy to do that. I've got different topics about America's Christian heritage. We can talk about current events, the biblical basis of our Constitution, all kinds of things. I don't charge a cent for it, and I'll be happy to come out and talk to your group. Just send me an email at lee.watts.kentucky, and we can work out all the details. And I hope you'll tune in next week. And until then, I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point. Stand strong and breathe free.